Hey, what's up you guys? Welcome back. Today's video is my second tutorial using the ANASTASIA NORVINA palette. You might actually be surprised that this super natural, well, it's not natural, but neutral look comes from this palette, because when you first look at this palette, at least me, all I see are these beautiful, bright, colorful purples. But there are some sneaky neutrals in here, so I thought that I would show you the versatility of this palette if you were on the fence, because yeah, a purple palette is beautiful and gorgeous and we all love it, but realistically, how often are we even going to use that? So I wanted to show you that you could actually make this your everyday palette, even if you wanted to, if your everyday look is neutral. So make sure you're subscribed and hit your bell notifications so that you're notified when I upload my next tutorial using this palette, and let me know down below what color you want me to use in the next tutorial, because I just did crazy purples, now I did neutrals. What do you want to see from me? So yeah, let's get started. So we're zoomed in, but we're not as zoomed in. I didn't use my other lens that I usually use for close-up tutorials because I had a lot of focusing issues that I didn't notice until I was editing my last video. Plus the coloring on that lens was a little weird. So let me know which one you prefer, because I will continue to do whatever you say going forward with actual tutorials. So anyways, I will be using the ANASTASIA NORVINA palette. This is what it looks like if you didn't see my last tutorial, and if you haven't, I will link it right up here. So the first shade I'm going to use is the color Incense, which is this shade right here. When I swatch this, it actually goes on pretty darn pigmented, so I'm gonna try to use a very light hand with it. The brush that I'm gonna be using is the Smith 232. It's just a really big fluffy brush. So I'm gonna pop this here and tap off a lot of the excess. I'm just bringing this through the crease with a very light hand. So I'm holding towards the middle of my brush. That gives me like light to medium pressure. If I hold right here, naturally it's gonna go on a lot more pigmented and a little bit darker. So if you want to apply a light hand and you have a hard time easing up when you're this close, just try backing up a little bit. You don't have to hold like all the way at the tippy end of the brush, but just somewhere around here is good. So I'm gonna go in with a little bit more just to deepen this up even more. Like that, even just that wash of color for me is like a beautiful like everyday look where it's like, are you wearing eyeshadow? Is that just like your natural shadow of a crease? So I'm also gonna take the same color on the same brush, I'm bringing my mirror now up here, and I'm looking up into it, and then I'm just wiggling it. Now, right now I'm really holding on the end of the brush, and I'm just letting the brush just kind of like do what it needs to do and blend that here under the eye. So one thing that I really love that this palette has in it is this color called Base. It is great for setting your primer to get ready for applying eyeshadow. It's great if you have a deeper skin tone to give that beautiful matte bright highlight. But if you're similar to my skin tone, maybe a little bit darker, you can use it for this step as well. And if you have a deeper skin tone, just mix that with the Incense shade that we were just using, and you can use it for this step as well. Is take that color just a little bit, and if you go right along the edges, it will kind of lighten it up or diffuse the edges so that it's not such a harsh line. So say you're going in and like right up here, it kind of went a little bit further up than I would prefer. You can just very lightly touch that base color and it diffuses it. So I keep going back and forth on whether I want to do natural or another cut crease lid deal. I am going to switch to a Smith 230. That is this brush right here, and this is the one that we were just using, which was the 232. You can see the difference. I'm gonna grab the Incense shade again with this brush, and I'm just gonna use this brush to apply more of the color. Because this brush is a little bit more dense than the last one, it's going to apply the color more pigmented and precise rather than diffused and more of a light wash. So as you can see, like, do you see how that's like already darker? Bring it here in the crease. Now I'm gonna grab my other brush with whatever's left on it and just diffuse the edge. All right, so now I'm gonna switch to the 247 from Smith, and as you can see, it pretty much is the same size as the 230 I was just using, but when you turn it this way, it gets more thin and flat, which makes it way more dense. So there's a theme here. The darker the colors that I'm going in with, the more smaller or more dense the brushes that I use will be. I'm now gonna grab the Volatile shade, which is like a cool toned brownish mauve. It's really pretty. I'm gonna take this right on the very tip of the brush, and I'm gonna keep this really close down on the lid. I'm gonna try not to bring it up too high. I kind of brought that a little bit too high up the last time, and I went in with the base shade try to help fix it. But as you can see now, I have scooched closer to my ferrule when I'm applying this color so that it goes on more precise, and I'm just kind of pushing it in right here on the outer lid. Very slowly starting to kind of like work this here into the crease a little and really push this color on the lid. I really want this to be smoky, but just neutral colors. And now I'm gonna switch back to the previous brush that I was using before, the 247, which is the 230 again. And I'm gonna go into Eccentric, which is the more orangey brown shade here, right next to Volatile. I'm gonna pick up just a little bit right on the tip of the brush, and I'm gonna bring that sort of like where the Volatile met the crease shades and sort of help mend everything together. Just a little bit. I used this color the exact same way actually in my last tutorial using this palette. This definitely warms it up, by the way, so if you wanted to keep this more cool toned, then I would skip this color. Honestly, it doesn't really need the color. I just wanted to add some warmth, but if you love cool tones and you wanted to keep it more cool toned, then skip out on this color. And I'm just rocking it back and forth, doing little circles, just getting it there in between those colors. I'm now grabbing my A14 pencil brush from Anastasia. It's a very precise, dense brush, and I'm going to use Volatile again, that like grayish shade, and I'm gonna bring this in the same spot, but I'm making it more pigmented in that area so that it's extra dark. I'm just kind of working it here. I'm not blending it around. I'm just kind of pushing it in, and then if I do blend a little, it's more like little motions, working little spaces at a time, because this is so dense. You don't want to bring this crazy pigment too far around on the eye. And this color, I find I get the most fallout from this color. So make sure you're always tapping off any extra product off of your brush before putting it directly on your eye. Also make sure to set this under eye area so that if you do get any fallout, and if you did your face makeup first, you can just dust it away with more powder. All right, I'm gonna go back into, I'm gonna say the 247, which was that like fluffy, dense, flat brush, you know what I mean? And kind of bring it right here on the edge and lightly diffuse what we just did there, and then going into the 230, touching a little bit of Eccentric on it and blending even more. The 247 brush that I've been using and talking about, the one that's kind of fluffy and flat, I've been using it right here on the tip of the brush, but what I'm gonna do is actually use it on the flat, fluffy side of the brush. And I'm going to pick up the Eccentric shade, the orangish color, and instead of bringing it directly like this, I'm going to turn it this way and bring it like this, so it's right there on the brush. And I'm going to pat this on the lid where the darker colors meet my like skin color, and I'm holding it pretty far back so I don't apply too much, because I know this is pigmented and I don't want this to be like a super orange eyelid or anything. But it kind of transitions that color on the lid, which is one of my favorite things to do when doing neutral smoky eyes especially. See how that kind of like blended that there, you know? Okay, I'm gonna use the other side of that brush, and I'm gonna tap into the base shade here, and I'm gonna use it the same way. And lightly, right now I'm looking down into my mirror so I can get this inner lid very easily. And I'm just kind of pressing it there first, because this is pretty bright, and I'm just flicking it into the Eccentric shade. I'm not even touching my brush where they would meet, if that makes sense. So I'm keeping my brush over here and I'm just flicking it, because if I touch over here, it's gonna bring this base shade way too far over. So now I'm gonna take the other side with whatever's left over on it, which has the Eccentric shade on it, and I'm gonna lightly kind of tap them, and then you can kind of like go back and forth and tap them in between, and you'll have this beautiful gradual fade in between the colors. So I'm going to carry this smokiness down on the bottom. I didn't do the bottom yet just because I wasn't sure exactly what I was going to do on the top yet. So I'm going to take, let's do incense on the brush that I've been using. I'm going to grab the incense shade on the 247, look up into the mirror, and I'm just bringing this more precise on the lash line. I think incense is what I have under there right now, but I used the fluffier brush, so it wasn't as pigmented. Now it's gonna go on a little bit more pigmented, a little bit darker, and smokier. Okay, I'm gonna use my Makeup Forever 216 brush. You could use the Anastasia pencil brush. Where is that? Let me compare them for you. Very similar, very, very similar. The Makeup Forever one is just more domey. I don't know if you can tell. I'm doing my best to show brushes. It's kind of awkward, but anyways, I'm gonna use this one. It's great for the bottom lash line, and I'm gonna use Eccentric, the like orangey shade, and I'm gonna carry this underneath. Normally, I would take the volatile shade down on the bottom too, but I think I'm gonna do some dramatic liner. So I'm gonna leave it as is. But I am going to highlight a little bit. I'm going to use a little bit of Dreamer, which is the shade right here. And I'm going to mix it a little bit with base just because Dreamer can be very, very like metallic and super shimmery. So the base will kind of mattify it just a little bit. It'll still be a shimmery color, but you know what I mean. That's base with Dreamer. See, it's more of a sheen, like a satiny type deal. Don't be afraid to mix your shadows together. You can create some really cool stuff mixing. So I'm gonna bring that there, bring it down. I'm also popping that Dreamer shade right here in the inner corner on this Makeup Geek pencil brush. In my waterline, I'm gonna use my little itty bitty Rimmel Nude Scandalized liner. This is my favorite nude liner. You don't have to use this one specifically, just grab your favorite nude eyeliner. I'm going to be using the Inglot gel eyeliner. This is in the shade number 77. This is my favorite gel liner ever of all time. And then for lashes, I'm applying my favorite ones from Velour. They are called Dream Girl, which I think I've used these in pretty much every tutorial recently. So I'm gonna let that attach to my eyes. They're still a little wet, and then I'll follow up with mascara. But until then, I'll move on to the lips. I really wanna do a matte lip today, just to kind of go with the matte eyes. I'm using MAC Oh Honey lip pencil. I'm gonna line my lips and overline a little bit, or a lot of it. I'm gonna grab a little bit of the Boldly Bare lip pencil from MAC. This is what I used in my last video, just to kind of darken up the edges a little bit and make it a little bit more pronounced, like under here and the corners. And then I'm gonna go over that and top it off with the First Time lipstick from Tom Ford. It's number 9. It's a gorgeous, gorgeous nude that I think looks really good on my skin tone. I'm adding some more eccentric because I feel like with the lashes on, that color got lost and I want it to be there. And then lastly, I'm just popping on some lower lash mascara just to complete the look and balance out the top lashes, and this will really open up the eyes even more. All right, this is the final look. I'm obsessed with it, obviously, because this is just so me. This is a very Brianna Fox sort of eye look. Let me know what color you want to see next from this palette in my next tutorial. I'm thinking more of the soul color, but you tell me what you want to see next. So yeah, thank you so much for watching. Please subscribe so you don't miss when I upload the next tutorial, and I'll see you soon. Bye.